Welcome back to Midnight Voices. I am Murmur, and tonight we descend into the cold, silent depths of Pluto's heart. A story of sacrifice, and a signal that shouldn't exist. The shuttle Aurora 9 descended through a haze of frozen methane, its thrusters cutting through diamond dust toward Tombaugh Regio, the planet's fragile heart. Inside, Captain David Winston watched the silvery twilight. Beside him stood Lindsay, her breath forming clouds inside her helmet. They were looking for answers in the ice. They were sent to drill an ice core at the center of Pluto's heart. The mission was simple, until the drill struck something that should not have been there. At 6 feet, a hollow metallic clang echoed. Beneath the blue ice gleamed an alloy older than humanity. Dr. Ruiz whispered, "It's manufactured." Floodlights revealed a seamless hatch. It released with a hiss of sublimating frost, opening like the lid of a tomb to reveal the impossible. Inside lay rows of humanoid shapes, encased in translucent shells, perfectly preserved. The first undeniable proof of life beyond our stars. Lindsay thought they looked peaceful. David wanted to leave them be. But fate doesn't wait for permission. The hatch sealed. The temperature plummeted. The lights died. They were trapped in the dark with the silent sleepers. Oxygen levels fell. The radio failed. But in the darkness, a faint hum echoed. Ancient machinery, still alive after millennia. Lindsay found a way down. A narrow ladder descending into blackness. Against protocol, they followed David into the unknown. They found a vast sanctuary, shimmering frost and alien symbols worn smooth by eons. It wasn't a tomb, it was something else. But sanctuary turned to nightmare. The deeper they went, the louder the ice groaned above. The heart of Pluto was breaking. A tremor shook the cavern. A sheet of ice the size of a shuttle broke loose. David turned back for Lindsay, always the hero. A spear of ice pierced his suit. The sound was a mix of static and a final, sudden gasp. Lindsay screamed, reaching for him through the frost. He caught her hand. One last touch. He whispered, "Pluto's heart only beats for those who leave it." Then the ledge gave way. David fell into the radiant mist, leaving only silence and a heartbeat that wasn't her own. Lindsay led the survivors out. Their oxygen was low, their tears frozen. They left behind footprints that would last for centuries. From orbit, the planet's heart glowed red, as if something deep within had finally begun to stir again. David was gone, or so she thought. Weeks later, a transmission arrived at Mission Control, a low, rhythmic pulse, like a heartbeat. And then, his voice. "Lindsay, I found the way out. This has been Midnight Voices. Like, share, and keep watching the patterns. Good night." Welcome back to Midnight Voices. I am Murmur, observer of unseen patterns. Tonight we travel to a forgotten farmhouse where the dust of the past holds a heavy secret. This is Lady in the Barn. Philip Anderson followed the gravel road until it faded into weeds and the sigh of wind through cottonwoods. The farmhouse waited at the far end like a held breath. He killed the engine and listened. No birdsong. No cattle, just the long hush of an abandoned place and the steady tick of his cooling bike. No signal to the world he knew. He'd come to photograph forgotten architecture. Through the camera's glass, a curtain on the second floor stirred. No breeze touched his face. The air around him turned a shade colder. Philip unlatched the gate and walked toward the porch that sagged like a tired mouth. "Hello?" he called. The door eased inward, inviting him into the foyer's darkness. Dust lay in drifts along the baseboards. From the kitchen came a tap, 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 soft and methodical, a faucet bead trembling. He found a leather-bound photo album on the table. Inside, a wedding, Ellen in a cotton dress. Another photo of her beside the barn, eyes bright with plans. A note in the margin read, "Ellen, first harvest." Someone exhaled behind him. Philip moved his bike inside for safety. Metal and gasoline were honest things. But a photo fell, Ellen again, near the barn. Beneath it, a line, "Never go alone at night." The photograph was warm. Dusk folded over the farm without ceremony. Philip stood at an upstairs window and watched. Something pale moved near the barn. A figure in the doorway, half there, half reflection. It was Ellen, her hands clasped at her waist. She looked up at the house. A smear of darker motion passed behind her, tall, stooped, hat brim low. Philip's breath came high and fast. The barn yawned wide, a mouth missing teeth. Philip's flashlight made islands of detail. a rake, a ladder, a nail apron. He ventured a "Sir?" into the sweet, heavy hay smell. A shape moved along the catwalk. Thomas. "You don't belong," he growled. The voice came from the rafters. "You think I don't know his face? You took her from me." "I know who you are," Thomas said. Philip raised a hand. "I don't know your name." Grief hollowed the man's anger. Thomas believed a thief had taken his Ellen. Back in the house, Philip followed a cellar damp smell to a stuck pantry door. Inside, his light found sutures and sockets. Thomas had died here, not in the fields. Close enough to hear the kettle boil dry. The bone hand held a page. "I'm sorry. I went to the barn to say it and came back to find the rope." Thomas hadn't killed Ellen. He'd killed himself, haunted by a ghost of his own making. Storms in the prairie don't always announce themselves with thunder. Philip filled his pockets with small courtesies, the ring, the album ribbon. "Thomas," he said to the air, "come with me." Each step was a conversation. Ellen stood just inside the barn, almost real enough to touch. Her eyes were the kind that hurts more than anger. "I tried to tell him," she whispered. Philip held out the ring. "I found him. He left a note to you, and you to him. You kept missing each other by a house and a night." Thomas climbed down, rung by rung. "Thomas," Philip said, "you buried your own good life." Thomas looked at the ring, the lines around his eyes softening. He reached out. Ellen's hands lifted to meet his. Their shadows joined. "I mistook the dark for a man, and a man for the dark," Thomas said. Forgiveness returned. The barn brightened with a warmth from no lamp. They were gone in the cleanest sense of the word. Rain came at last. A simple rain. Philip called for official hands to lay the remains to rest. While he waited, he left his own note in the album. Found together in the barn. Forgiveness returned. On his way out, he saw it. One frame had come straight. Ellen and Thomas, sun in their eyes, a harvest behind them. The house smelled only like dust and rain, haunted no more. Philip did not look back until the farmhouse was just a speck. It sat easy against the land, as if its spine had been set right. The road, pleased with the arrangement, carried him home. Some names are forgotten, some are found just in time. Until next we meet in the shadows. This has been Midnight Voices. Like and share if you dare to listen again. Good night. This is a Midnight Voices production. I am Murmur, and tonight we look at the ashes of the belt. Living in space was beautiful, once. Before the shouting, before the flames. My home was on a peanut-shaped rock called A77, spinning lazily between Mars and Jupiter. We called it the garden because we grew food there. Rows of hydroponic beans, green spirals of spinach, and nutrient vines that twisted up silver tubes like something from a dream. The stars were our ceiling. The soil was just a whisper of regolith and recycled waste. But it was home. Then came the silence. Then came the war. The Earth supply ships stopped coming when World War III lit the sky blue. We heard about it months later. Grainy transmissions, faint and trembling, full of static. No more water shipments. No more peace. It started as trade arguments, then blockades, then gunfire between domes. I was a farmer. My neighbors mined nickel and ice from the neighboring asteroids. We once traded laughter, music, and stories through the comm lines. Then, trust was the first casualty. When the first bomb went off, my dome cracked like glass in a frozen lake. The tremor hit before the flash, rattling the panels and bursting airlocks in the southern quadrant. The hum of life, gone. I patched the pressure leak and put on my suit. The air hissed behind me like a dying breath as I stepped into the void. They called themselves the Miners' Front. We were the Growers' Union, two names for the same desperation. I remember the fight, jetpacks flaring in the dark, rifles flashing, bodies spinning like broken satellites. "Look out, Jill," I shouted, but she never had the chance. The plasma burned her from the inside out. One flash, then silence. I turned, swung the butt of my rifle, cracked a helmet, and watched a man's face turn to frost. He was no older than 20. I'll never forget how his eyes froze open. Then came the nuke. A light so bright it made the stars look pale. The shockwave hit every dome in the sector. Families were vaporized mid-prayer. Gardens, gone. We lost half of everything. Half the people. Half the homes. Half of our reason to go on. When it was over, those of us who survived stopped counting sides. We had nothing left to dig and nothing left to grow. It's been 5 years now. The belt is quieter, emptier, but not dead. We've started rebuilding the domes, sealing the fractures, melting the frozen air back into life. There's no miner or farmer now, just survivors. Children plant seeds in old helmets. Miners use their drills to dig irrigation lines instead of graves. Every night I sit beneath the dome and stare at the stars. I think of Jill. I think of that frozen-eyed boy, and I whisper a promise. No more war among the stars. We've learned that in space, everything is shared. Light, air, silence, and sorrow. If one dome breaks, we all suffocate. Maybe Earth had to burn so the belt could learn to live. The stars are quiet again. Let's keep them that way. This has been Midnight Voices. Until the patterns align again, good night.